Well, why did he return here to this small town?
Like the prodigal son, it was time to return home.
But why? Was he not happy in the big city?
I think he was ready to move on. His life was changing.
Or did he have something he was running from? Why would anyone return to our little town after having experienced the jet-setting life, except maybe to escape something?
If he was escaping anything, it was the grandiosity of one of the wealthiest suburbs in the country.
But he was making good money, right?
A 6-figure salary, complete with benefits, a job in the company for his wife, and 13 weeks paid vacation. And he owned his performing arts center.
Again, I ask you, why did he return?
After more than a quarter of a century in the big pond, he had done what he wanted in show business, and then he started a business.
He was on Broadway by 20, I heard.
Yes, he had a very successful performing career, which was short-lived, considering he had a knee injury that took him out for 2 years.
Yeah, he even came back here to have one of his 4 surgeries. We were scoped by the same legendary knee doctor here in town. He was the one who finally fixed his knee, I think.
Yes, it was his last hope to dance again. And his doctors in the big city sent him here because they knew how legendary our good doctor was. And even though he got his knee fixed, he still is critical of Western medicine, only seeing the side effects and not the cures.
That's what I don't understand. He seems to lose sight of the great things our society offers while he stubbornly remains countercultural. Although I too have had enough of doctors at times.
After 4 surgeries and 2 years to think about it, he realized he had had many unnecessary procedures performed by expert doctors who could only relate to his knee. Had he discovered alternative ways to heal and repair his body, he simply chose less intrusive and more holistic ways to deal with his health.
What? Does he think eating organic foods is going to help his knee? I hear he even teaches about organics.
He reads voraciously and it's an autodidact. He knows that every choice he makes affects the entirety of his being.
Did tofu make his knees better?
Actually, he stays away from most soy.
Why is that?
Soy can cause overproduction of estrogen and can cause cancer.
Give me a break. How does he know? Does he think he knows better than experts?
He reads a lot. He always has, and he finds the most obscure books and researches his doubts.
But he never even went to college. He barely graduated high school, for God's sake, right? You told me that.
Einstein struggled in school, too.
Oh, now he's an Einstein?
No, far from it. But he does know that history is written by the victors of the latest war, and education itself is manipulated to serve the elite, and truth is hard to come by. He thinks for himself.
He sounds very eccentric.
He's as far out there as anyone I know.
And you want to go into business with him?
And why not?
Okay. So why did he leave performing in the first place?
When he realized he didn't fit into the politics of show business, he left.
What did he do?
He worked in a 4-star French restaurant.
Really? Why? Did he like it?
He likes almost everything he does, as long as it's his choice, which it has been since he left here at 18. He lives on his own terms.
So what did he like about a French restaurant?
He met more worldly people, he experienced gourmet French cuisine, and he made good money. But most of all, he liked being out of show business.
Why? Wouldn't he rather be on Broadway than serving Bordeaux?
He felt he had to sell out, kiss ass, and be what Broadway wanted him to be. After years of feeling like a whore, he decided to put his money where his mouth was and get out.
Unbelievable. What does the guy believe in?
Well, he went on to create a school, as I was about to tell you earlier.
I thought he didn't do well in school. Actually, you said he hated it.
He did hate it. But he believes, to answer your question, that the only way to help people change is to educate them.
Yet he criticizes schools and the way they educate.
Schools are conformist factories to him. He sees his students rarely working to their potential.
Well, I always felt too that my students weren't working to their full potential. So he decided to create a school within his performing arts center.
Yes, and now he's on his second one, and he teaches independent thinking skills.
So he must really like it. What happened to the first one?
It's still going strong. They're celebrating their 20th anniversary this year.
So why did he leave if it was so successful?
He had been directing it for 13 years. It was time for a change.
Oh, come on. You don't leave a company you start making good money with all those benefits just to do something new.
When he left, the school was a not-for-profit organization, and he had to work with his board of directors, and let's just say they didn't see eye to eye.
I can imagine. Who does see eye to eye with him? I heard he took advantage of the girls he taught. Maybe the board found out.
Hardly. Actually, it goes back to your second question. He was disgusted at the inexplicable sense of entitlement his wealthy students and families demanded.
Like what?
Well, when you teach the children of stars, you're working with people who are used to having things their way.
So how did he get to work with those people in the first place?
He's good.
But aren't there lots of good teachers like that in the big city?
Yes, but not like him.
But why? What makes him so different? Besides being critical of mainstream teaching.
He was trained as a triple threat, equally adept in teaching singing, acting, and dance. And he teaches like an old school mentor, demanding excellence from his students and holding them accountable.
Sounds like a good fit for the wealthy elite.
Until you had to deal with race and class.
How so?
He was inclusive in his school. The board was only paying lip service. When they actually had to show their inclusiveness, they acted with prejudice.
So he left because of that?
It was heartbreaking for him. But when they pushed their agenda of artistic choices on him, he resisted.
Why couldn't he work with them? Maybe educate them if that's what he believed.
Patience is not his strong suit, and he has little tolerance for ignorance. And when they asked him to add lines to a play to keep a student happy, he could not stay. He knew the chasm was too wide to bridge. He gave them his school.
After 13 years, he just gave it to them?
Yep,
He just resigned?
yep,
He let them do it their way?
yep,
And it's still going strong after 20 years.
yep.
So, why did he return here?
After talking it over with his wife, they decided to open a new center in the big city again.
So why did he return here?
I was getting to 2 days after resigning from the center, he got a call from his father.
So his father wanted him to come home.
No, his father called to inform him he had stage 4 lung cancer.
So that's what brought him back here.
Yes. And when he told his dad he was moving back home, his dad tried to persuade him not to.
I guess he should have listened to his dad.
He always had to learn things for himself.
Hard-headed.
You bet.
Sounds like he was a loyal son.
He loved his dad.
But to move back across country and uproot his family.
It was time for a change.
Did his dad live long?
6 more months.
Not much time.
Time enough for him to move back and help nurse his dad for 3 months.
Nurse him? Why?
Well, his dad was somewhat radical himself.
How so?
He sought out alternative medicine for his cancer treatments and wouldn't take chemo.
I heard he was also an AIDS counselor.
He was a highly respected professor of social work at the university and a principal man who spent years in service to the community, but took unpopular positions as well.
Like what?
Well, he too almost didn't graduate college because he refused to sign McCarthy's U.S. loyalty oath, which he considered un-American, and instead had to spend 2 years in the Army to get his degree.
I guess he is a lot like his father was.
In those ways, yeah.
It must have been hard to lose his father.
Yes. But his participation in his father's hospice care helped him to have closure and finality.
Was his father's hospice care in the hospital?
No, he wanted to die at home.
How did he help his dad?
He and his wife and son moved in with his folks and hoped to the very end.
Did his father die at home?
Yes. He found his father dead early one November morning.
Meanwhile, he was starting his school?
It was a very intense time. On top of all this, his wife was surprised to discover she was pregnant the first week of their return.
A new child coming while his father was passing.
His wife impulsively named their son after his father.
Impulsively, why? Didn't they talk about it?
The birth was 3 weeks early, and they had a natural home birth, so they didn't know the sex of the child. When the baby boy appeared in the hot tub, she named him right there.
Sounds like they had a full plate.
And yet, one of the patriarchs of theater in this community criticized him that first year for not being in other local theaters.
Did he set him straight?
Nope, he's still gay. But he did explain his extenuating circumstances.
So how did he manage to do all this? I mean, he relocated, created a performing arts center, nursed his dad while dying, and took care of his pregnant wife and 3-year-old son.
He comes from a large family, and they are all close, and they all help each other.
They helped him with the center, too.
He could have never done it without them.
So why didn't he create the dream he wanted of a large consortium of the healing and performing arts in a bigger complex? Isn't that what he wanted?
Well, you know this town as well as I do.
So why did he return here?
Naivete?
You really thought he could build it here?
Naivete.
Didn't he know he'd face small town mentality?
Naivete.
Did he really try? I mean, did he reach out and try to connect with the community? Seems like had he really tried, the theater community would love to have a person like him with his success and experience here to work with and learn from.
Perhaps they were intimidated.
Did he offer to work with them and collaborate?
He offered a lot. He wrote to all the schools in the area and offered to work with them.
What happened?
Not one responded.
Did he try the local theaters?
He spoke with all the local theater directors.
What happened?
Only the university director, himself from the big city, collaborated with him.
What did the others say?
One now defunct professional theater said they would collaborate with him, but then didn't return his calls afterwards.
I know that one. Seems all too common today.
The other professional theaters blew him off. And then both of those theaters copied his programs and began to offer summer camps and theater classes with their own people, actually creating competition.
No kidding.
No kidding. He thought they would be the perfect match to partner since he dealt mostly with younger people and they dealt mostly with older people.
Makes sense. Pool of resources and both organizations benefit. Expanded audiences, fewer expenses, then farm the younger performers into the established theaters.
Makes sense. Actually, they are doing this now. Just not with him.
Nice. What about the community theaters?
One community theater director started to become friends with him. He does edgy plays and musicals, often with homosexual themes, pushing the envelope himself.
What happened? Sounds like a good fit.
Well, when he had the director over to his house for coffee one afternoon, he expressed an idea to merge organizations and partner up with space and resources, yet leaving each organization as a separate entity. They both loved the idea. The director said he would speak with his executive director and board and get back to him.
I don't suppose it ever happened. I don't recall this partnership.
He never heard from the director again.
You mean the director just dropped it?
Yep.
He just left him hanging?
Yep.
Not very nice.
Nope.
Small town mentality.
From the moment he began, he faced it.
Not surprised. Only surprised he didn't anticipate it. Didn't his dance teacher face the same mentality when he returned here in the 70s and 80s after a 30-year career to take care of his mother?
Yep.
So why didn't he anticipate this?
Naivete, hard-headed, stubborn.
Yep.
His first open house at the center should have been a warning.
Why?
There was a local woman in the audience who went off on a rant about how he was creating a cult here. Taking a quote from his spiritual teacher's website, taking it completely out of context, and using it to make her point and spread poison.
Okay. I see. I think I'm getting it. I remember when he first came back to town. A prominent dance teacher's family here in town badmouthed his reputation, remember? Because he didn't have a teaching degree in dance, telling his students they shouldn't study with him.
Yep.
And a local voice teacher who told his students they shouldn't study with him because he didn't have a certification in vocal training.
Yeah.
Completely ignoring his real-world experience.
Yep.
Only giving credit to academic experience.
Ignoring the fact that he's been taught by some of the best world-class teachers here and abroad.
Yep. Well, if it's any consolation, this is going on everywhere. The universities are an elite club with ties to every industry. And their endowments are littered with the money elite's agendas as well as their donations.
Isn't it a way to dominate and control society from behind the scenes?
Yep.
Isn't it promoting the independent thought and action of the individual.
Yep.
And doesn't it further conformist pressure and structure?
Yep. It creates a cookie-cutter approach that each performer must now pass through the state-controlled and constructed curriculum to be an accredited artist.
But do these folks understand that art is self-expression? And the more unique ourselves are, the richer our expression in art is.
Nope. So, why did you return here?
Why did you?
Maybe it's the same everywhere.
Maybe, to a degree, yes.
But I suppose the big cities are a bit more open-minded and sophisticated.
Seems easier to pave your own way there.
But globalization is homogenizing everything.
Yep.
So, how has he managed to stay here and work?
His work is good. He knows that art is transformational. And I know I can help transform his business.
Okay. So, how does he survive in this economy?
For the first few years, he was a novelty. The guy from the big city.
Oh, and everyone came out to try, right?
Right. But few understood the seriousness of the work ethic he demanded.
Does he still demand it?
No. Eventually, he gave in to survive. Right from the beginning, actually, people didn't get his demand for attendance.
What? How can you not understand that attendance is a must for good work?
Small town mentality, they wanted to do their high school musicals.
He wouldn't let them.
He was totally fine about it. The problem was the students had already registered and committed to his programs long before they brought this up.
So now he just accepts poor attendance?
What else can he do?
And doesn't that create mediocrity?
Uh-huh.
So how does he survive?
His frustration or his work? He's good.